My name is Kara, and I found myself thrust into a world where family ties felt like chains. I married Mark, the man I loved, with dreams of building a beautiful life together. But little did I know that his family home would be the setting for a harrowing journey during my pregnancy. Mark, tall and strong, had a kind heart, but he seemed to struggle between his loyalty to me and his family's expectations. His father, Robert, was a warm and gentle man, always ready to lend a helping hand. However, his mother, Sarah, and his younger sister, Emily, were a different story altogether. One evening, Mark had to go out for some urgent work, leaving me alone with his mother and sister. I was heavily pregnant, but that didn't stop them from assigning me endless chores. Sarah scoffed. "You're just sitting around all day anyway, might as well do something useful." "But I'm exhausted and I need rest," I pleaded. Emily joined in. "Oh, stop exaggerating. Pregnancy is not a disease. We all went through it and we managed just fine." I sighed, knowing it was pointless to argue with them. They had an unyielding belief that being pregnant was an excuse to exploit me, rather than an experience that warranted care and support. As days turned into weeks, their demands only increased. Meanwhile, Mark was mostly away at work, oblivious to the plight I faced in his absence. One afternoon, when I couldn't bear the strain any longer, I sought solace in Robert's company. I found him in the backyard, tending to his beloved garden. "Hey, Kara," he greeted me with a warm smile. "How are you holding up, my dear?" Tears welled up in my eyes as I poured my heart out to him about the unfair treatment I received from Sarah and Emily. Robert listened intently, his expression a mix of concern and understanding. "Nobody should be made to work like this during pregnancy," he said, shaking his head. "You should be resting and taking care of yourself and those precious little ones inside you." "I wish they understood that," I whispered, wiping away a tear. Robert's eyes softened, and he placed a comforting hand on my shoulder. "Don't worry, Kara. I'll talk to them and try to make them see reason. You don't need to shoulder this burden alone." His words were like a balm to my soul, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope. The days turned into months, and Robert's support became my lifeline. He would help with the household chores, ease my discomfort, and encourage me to focus on my well-being. But as my pregnancy progressed, so did the tension between Mark and his family, particularly Sarah and Emily, and unbeknownst to them, their actions were pushing Mark away from their toxic influence. One evening, after Mark discovered the truth about how they treated me, he confronted them. "I can't believe you treated my wife like that while she was carrying our babies," he yelled, his anger palpable. "Sarah tried to justify their actions. We just wanted her to contribute to the household chores like any responsible adult. But she's pregnant. She needed your support, not your demands," Mark retorted, his voice firm. Emily chimed in. "It's not like she was doing anything important. We do all the work when she's not here anyway." Mark shook his head in disbelief. "No, that's not the point. She's my wife, and I won't let you mistreat her any longer." Life within my husband's family home had become a never-ending cycle of exhausting chores and unrelenting expectations. The weight of my growing belly seemed to amplify their demands, as if my pregnancy was merely an inconvenience to their comfortable existence. It was during this chapter of my life that I truly began to understand the burden of expectation placed upon my shoulders. Each day started with Sarah and Emily instructing me on my duties, as if I were an employee rather than a woman nurturing life within me. "Make sure you scrub the floors thoroughly, Kara," Sarah commanded, her tone laced with superiority. Emily chimed in, her voice dripping with condescension, "And don't forget to dust all the surfaces. We can't have a speck of dirt in this house." "But I'm exhausted, and my body needs rest," I pleaded, hoping they would show some compassion. Sarah scoffed. "Rest? What do you think this is? A vacation? You're perfectly capable of doing these tasks," Emily added, a hint of mockery in her voice. "If you can't handle a few chores, how will you manage when the babies arrive?" Their words stung like 1,000 needles, pricking at my already vulnerable emotions. They saw me as nothing more than a vessel for their grandchildren, disregarding my own well-being and the toll pregnancy takes on a woman's body and mind. As the days turned into weeks, the burden grew heavier. The exhaustion settled deep within my bones, and the weight of their expectations threatened to suffocate me. All the while, Mark remained oblivious, consumed by his work and seemingly unaware of the torment I endured. It was during one particularly overwhelming afternoon that I reached my breaking point. The heaviness of my belly combined with the heaviness of their demands became too much to bear. Tears streamed down my face as I collapsed onto the couch, feeling utterly defeated. Robert, my father-in-law, found me in this vulnerable state. Concern etched across his face. He sat down beside me, offering a comforting presence. "What's the matter, Kara?" he asked gently, his voice full of empathy. I hiccuped between sobs, struggling to find the words. I can't keep up with their expectations anymore. I'm tired, Robert, so tired. He placed a hand on my trembling shoulder, his touch a lifeline of compassion. I understand, Kara. They don't realize the toll this takes on you. Pregnancy is a time when you should be nurtured and cared for, not treated as a servant. I nodded, grateful for his understanding. I just wish Mark would see it too, that he would stand up for me. Robert's eyes softened, reflecting a deep understanding of the situation. Give him time, Kara. Sometimes it takes a wake-up call to realize what's truly important. But know that I'm here for you. Lean on me whenever you need to. In that moment, the burden felt a little lighter, knowing I had an ally in Robert. He became the anchor that kept me grounded, reminding me that I deserved more than the relentless expectations thrust upon me. But little did I know that this burden of expectation would soon clash with the fire of determination within my husband, Mark. A clash that would set us on a path toward change and liberation, forever altering the course of our lives. In the midst of the storm that raged within the walls of my husband's family home, there was a beacon of support that shone brightly. My father-in-law, Robert. He stood as a pillar of strength, offering solace and kindness when I needed it most. As the weeks went by, Robert's support became an essential lifeline, a refuge from the constant demands and mistreatment I endured. He would often step in, easing my burden and providing the care that was sorely lacking from Sarah and Emily. One evening, as I struggled to complete my assigned chores, Robert appeared by my side. He glanced at the long list of tasks and let out a sympathetic sigh. "This is too much for you, Kara," he said, his voice tinged with concern. "You shouldn't have to bear this alone." I nodded, tears welling up in my eyes. I don't understand why they treat me like this. Don't they realize the toll it takes on me and the babies? Robert's hand gently squeezed my shoulder, offering a small measure of comfort. Sometimes people can be blind to the pain they cause. But I see it, Kara. I see your strength and the love you carry within you. As the days passed, Robert's support extended beyond just offering kind words. He actively participated in lightening my load, taking on tasks that would have been overwhelming for me in my pregnant state. He would wash dishes, sweep the floors, and even prepare meals, ensuring that I had the rest I so desperately needed. One sunny afternoon, I found myself sitting in the backyard, a respite from the chaos within the house. Robert joined me, a tray of freshly baked cookies in his hands. "I thought these might lift your spirits a bit," he said, offering me a warm smile. I took a cookie, savoring the sweet taste. "Thank you, Robert. Your support means the world to me. I don't know what I would do without you." He chuckled softly, his eyes filled with compassion. "You don't have to thank me, Kara. Family should always take care of one another, and consider me your family." His words resonated deeply within me, touching a part of my heart that had felt neglected for far too long. In that moment, I realized that I wasn't alone in this struggle. I had found an ally, a source of support that gave me the strength to face each day with renewed determination. As my pregnancy progressed, Robert's role became even more crucial. He encouraged me to prioritize my well-being, reminding me that self-care was essential for both me and the babies. His unwavering belief in my ability to navigate through the challenges instilled a newfound confidence within me. Together, we formed a bond that transcended the confines of a traditional father-in-law and daughter-in-law relationship. He became the father figure I had always longed for, the one who showed me kindness and compassion in the face of adversity. After months of enduring the oppressive environment within my husband's family home, Mark, my loving husband, had been silently observing the mistreatment I endured at the hands of his mother and sister. The weight of his guilt and realization finally prompted him to take a stand. Determined to protect our growing family, he made a decision that would alter the course of our lives. One evening, as the sun cast a warm glow upon our tired faces, Mark gathered his mother, Sarah, and his sister, Emily, in the living room. A sense of gravity hung in the air as he prepared to address the deep-rooted issues that had plagued us for far too long. "I can no longer stand by and watch the way you treat my wife," Mark began, his voice resolute but tinged with sadness. "Kara is carrying our children, and she deserves nothing but love, care, and support during this precious time." Sarah looked taken aback, her eyes reflecting a mix of surprise and defiance. "We were just trying to teach her responsibility," she muttered, her voice wavering. Mark's voice grew firmer as he continued. "Responsibility should never come at the expense of someone's well-being, especially during pregnancy. Kara deserves better than this." Emily shifted uncomfortably in her seat, her eyes avoiding mine. I didn't mean to cause her harm," she stammered. Mark's gaze softened, and he reached out to hold my hand, a silent show of solidarity. "It's not just about you, Emily. It's about all of us recognizing the importance of empathy and understanding." Sarah's face contorted with desperation, her voice tinged with a hint of fear. "Please don't leave alone." "I can't live alone. I have no money." But Mark stood his ground, his determination unyielding. "This is not about revenge or punishment. It's about creating a safe and loving environment for our family. We're moving out, and we're going to build a life that centers around love, respect, and support." And just like that, the decision was made. We were no longer bound by the suffocating chains of that family home. We were embarking on a journey towards a brighter future where our voices would be heard and our well-being cherished. Months later, settled into our new home, the wounds of the past still fresh but healing. A phone call disrupted our newfound peace. It was Sarah pleading for help, their consequences catching up with them. "We're being evicted," she sobbed, her voice strained with desperation. "We have no place to go, no money to survive." Mark listened quietly, a mix of emotions swirling within him. I could see the struggle in his eyes as he grappled with his sense of duty and the pain caused by his family's actions. Finally, he spoke, his voice steady but resolute. "I'm sorry, Mom, but we can't help you. The consequences of your actions are not ours to bear. This is the result of the choices you made." It was a bittersweet moment, the culmination of the transformation that had been set in motion. We had found our voice, our strength, and in doing so, we had gained the power to stand up for ourselves and protect our newfound happiness. Months had passed since we cut ties with Mark's mother and sister, choosing to prioritize our own well-being and the well-being of our growing family. Our new home was filled with warmth and love, a stark contrast to the coldness we had left behind. One evening, as the wind whispered through the trees outside, we received an unexpected phone call. It was Sarah, Mark's mother, her voice trembling with desperation. Kara, Mark, please, I beg of you, she pleaded, her tone laden with sorrow. We're in dire straits. We've been evicted and we have nowhere to go. I can't bear the thought of being alone without money. Mark listened silently, his face a tapestry of conflicting emotions. The wounds inflicted by his mother and sister were still raw, but the ties of familial love tugged at his heart. Sarah continued, her voice choked with tears. I know we treated you both terribly. We were blind to the pain we caused. Please give us another chance. We'll change. We'll do better. We can't survive without your help. The room fell into a heavy silence as Mark wrestled with his own inner turmoil. It was a pivotal moment, a test of our resilience and capacity for forgiveness. I placed a gentle hand on Mark's arm, a silent gesture of support. Remember, Mark, how they made me suffer, how they belittled me even when I was carrying our precious babies. This is a chance for them to truly understand the consequences of their actions. Mark nodded, his eyes filled with a mixture of empathy and determination. Mom, we can't deny the pain you caused. We needed to leave for the sake of our family's well-being. It's time for you to face the consequences of your choices. Sarah's voice cracked, the weight of her words laden with regret. I understand, Mark. I never realized the depth of the harm I caused until it was too late. Please know that I'm truly sorry. The conversation ended with a heavy sigh, leaving us to grapple with the aftermath of our decision. It was a bittersweet moment as we witnessed the consequences unfold, knowing that true change could only come from within. In the days that followed, Mark and I grappled with a mix of emotions. We questioned whether we had made the right choice, whether our refusal to help was an act of justice or a missed opportunity for reconciliation. But as time passed, we found solace in the knowledge that our decision was rooted in self-preservation and the protection of our family. We had chosen a path that prioritized our well-being, learning that forgiveness could only come when the wounds had truly healed. With the weight of the past gradually lifting from our shoulders, our new home became a sanctuary of love, warmth, and tranquility. Each day brought us closer to the realization that we were no longer defined by the toxic environment we had left behind. As the sun cast a golden hue upon our surroundings, I sat on the porch, cradling our twin infants in my arms. The air was filled with a sense of contentment as I watched Mark approach, a smile playing on his lips. He sat down beside me, his gaze filled with a mixture of pride and gratitude. Can you believe how far we've come? He whispered, his voice filled with awe. We've created a life for ourselves, one that revolves around love, support, and freedom. I nodded, a sense of peace washing over me. It hasn't been easy, but it's been worth it. We've built something beautiful out of the ashes of our past. Mark took my hand in his touch reassuring, and we did it together. We faced the darkness head on, and now we get to savor the sweetness of our freedom. As we sat there, embracing the serenity of the moment, the phone rang, briefly disrupting our tranquil reverie. Mark answered, his brow furrowing in confusion. After a brief conversation, he hung up, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. That was Sarah, he said, his voice tinged with surprise. She called to apologize. She said she's finally realizing the depth of the pain she caused and that she's committed to changing for the better. I looked at Mark, a glimmer of hope reflected in my eyes. Do you think she means it? Mark shrugged, a mixture of skepticism and cautious optimism in his expression. Only time will tell, but perhaps this is the beginning of her own journey of self-reflection and growth. We sat there, contemplating the possibilities that lay ahead, knowing that the wounds of the past would take time to fully heal. But in that moment, we chose to focus on our own journey, on the love that surrounded us, and on the incredible strength we had discovered within ourselves